Hello, friends. Bienvenidos. My name is Jen, aka Jen Kahlo on social media, your local witchy friend and intuitive guide through the occult. As always, my lovely husband and co-host is David, Premier Pulse on social media.
Hi everyone. On today's episode, Jen explains Deja Vu. Hi everyone. On today's episode, Jen explains Deja Vu.
Welcome to the show. Grab a chair, make yourself at home. Jen's got stories to share. You'll never feel alone.
All right. Today we are in our studio. This is our first official video podcast, right?
For the general episode, yes, but I feel like our Patreon subscribers are going to feel some deja vu because they've already seen us in video because we launched on Patreon first in August.
Yeah, that's definitely some of the perks of being in that community. You've already seen our studio. You've already seen a couple live videos, but this is for everyone. So everybody who is new and watching us or hearing us for the first time, welcome. We might have to do like a studio tour down the line.
Yeah, eventually.
I always like watching this because I'll see like people on YouTube or their podcasts, and I'm like, I wonder what the behind the scenes looks like. So that might be something we need to throw on there for everyone.
Or you could see the studio live in person if you come hang out. So we have some opportunities. So this Thursday from 6 to 9 p.m., we are going to be taking walk-ins because we'll be part of the mercado going on downtown.
Yeah, Merced has such a beautiful little community and vibrancy, especially with like small businesses and merchants. And even if you're not seeing us, come down and support because it really helps the local community grow. So yeah, but today we're going to be talking about Deja Vu. But before we do that, we had some comments and some questions. So we want to kind of go over those from previous episodes too. Because last week was sigils. But we had some kind of late submissions for Virgo. So do we have any audio ones that we want to do first?
Yes, we have a voice message for sigils from the lovely Janet.
Yay.
So let's listen.
Recording for the Virgo episode, but I wanted to put in my 2 cents because I have been very busy, but I really enjoyed that episode. I myself have the pleasure of knowing one beautiful Virgo woman. She is actually a triple Virgo. Yeah, I know, right? The RBF is strong, but she is so amazing. She's very caring, very sweet, hilarious, very funny. And when I tell you the judgment is in her whole being, oh my goodness, it's too funny. I absolutely love her company because it's a laugh every time. And, you know, the tough love is definitely there. And she does it very unapologetically. I really do appreciate that. So if you ever want some real raw truth from someone, just know that your feelings may get hurt a little bit, but it's all out of love. Love you guys.
Aww.
Yeah, that's super sweet. Yeah, I'm on like a perpetual mission now to meet every Virgo I can. Ever since our episode dropped, I haven't been able to meet one yet though. So if you're a Virgo, let me know. Dax Shepard is a Virgo. I forgot to tell you. Yes. He's one of like my biggest inspirations for like doing a podcast.
Same.
I love his podcast. I love his style. And I'm pretty sure he's a Virgo. Now I'm doubting myself, but I think he is. So even if he's not, Dax Shepard, if you ever listen to this, you're a Virgo in our hearts.
Yes, we'll double check. I feel like he maybe has some fire because maybe a fire Mars. Anyway, yeah.
And then we had some questions from a couple of our community members. So first was Erica.
Yeah, so Erica through our Patreon Discord, which is super duper fun. If you want to join the fun and the Kythera Club, remember you can join for as little as $4 on the chocolate level. But Erica asked on our Patreon Discord, does placement matter for your sigil if you were to get it tattooed?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think it could. I think it depends on your beliefs. Like, for example, in like hoodoo and voodoo, there's like left hand work, right hand work. Some people believe in human design. Sometimes placement matters there. I think if it matters to you, it matters to you, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But I think it could be very interesting to choose a specific placement, especially like if you want to do something protection wise. I would imagine like doing it on the inside versus like maybe, I don't know, manifestation. You would want to do it like on the outside. There's just so many ways that you could take it, but I think placement could be significant. It's all about intention and your own journey.
And then we haven't done this episode ever, but I know there's like a concept of like chakras and alignment, and I know certain parts in your body have certain meanings or open certain pathways according to that practice. So I wonder if like that has anything to do with it as well.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it does. But I would say first and foremost, like do it for comfort wherever you want to get it done. For sure. Ooh, I wonder if somebody's going to get a tattoo. Imagine if somebody got a tattoo based on our episode. That would be insane. Oh my God.
Inspired, not like because of us, but like inspired.
It's a little insane. And then Mercy over on our Patreon's Discord said, can you use an existing and well-established sigil but add your own meaning and intention to it? Like if I like the aesthetic of an already established sigil but don't vibe with the current meaning behind it, can I redefine the intention for myself? And well, first off, that's a great question. We did talk about that a little bit. And there's like symbolism too. So I think, yeah, it's more of the intentionality, right?
But a lot of artists, this is like slightly related, but like they'll have their art, but they'll like hand embellish or they'll like add little things to make it unique. So if there's a sigil that you like, maybe consider adding like one or two more elements, like a star here, a heart here, a squiggle line here, and then you really make it your own. So maybe add like your little touch to it is what I would recommend to really make it yours. But like to start off with that base, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious what Mercy's idea is, because that's a very specific question.
Yes.
So I'm sure there's like something behind it. So
something's cooking.
Yes, I'm going to be pestering you to show it off. And if it needs to be private, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So today we're going to be talking about Deja Vu.
Wait, we forgot one more for Virgo season.
Oh, one more for Virgo. Okay.
Yes. So we have a late submission from Janet for. Oh no, wait, we did it backwards. I'm so sorry. We have one more for sigils.
I was about to have a deja vu moment right now.
That was just me.
Okay.
Anyway, we're still in Mercury retrograde shadow period, but we're going direct. We're almost out.
I was like, okay.
All right, 1 second.
Hey guys, just wanted to put my thoughts into the sigil episode. I really did enjoy that one as well. I honestly enjoy all of the episodes. They're never boring. I feel super engaged every time I listen to them. But when it comes to sigils, I am very much a believer in them. When I lived in my apartment, I would actually take a paintbrush and use moon water every full moon and new moon and would draw the pentacle on all entries: bedroom, bathroom, windows, patio door, and I would just draw the pentacle for that protection. I would also draw a sigil of algaes, which is kind of like, it looks like a little bit of a chicken foot, but I would draw it underneath my mat, and that way it brings in protection as well. So very much strong with the sigil episode. And I still use them to this day, especially on my candles when I anoint them with oil. So Jen, I am exactly on the same page with you on that one. Love you guys.
Aw.
I love that. Also love that maybe she doesn't care or didn't heed warning to like not share your personal sigils. Now you're exposed, girl. It's out there in the world. But no, I appreciate that.
I will say Janet has some badass defense magic. Like when I have to read her, she has to like not do her defense magic that day. So she's fine. She's that badass that could put it all out on TikTok and she'll still be fine. Anyway.
But no, thank you so much for sharing that, especially because like we mentioned last time, it can be something that's pretty intimate to you. So I appreciate that.
Yes. Thank you so much. Now,
you're sure we can go to Deja Vu.
Go into Deja Vu.
So this episode was actually a last minute request. I'm surprised you've never thought about it. This seems like right up our house, and we just never thought about it. So shout out for the person who suggested it. I don't know if they want to go live on that, but we'll send it to them and hopefully they listen to it. But yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, well, so what is deja vu?
So it's a French word that we've incorporated. It literally translates to already seen, but it's the feeling that you've already experienced or lived through something. So this is a really interesting episode because it has both spiritual meanings, but there's also been a lot of scientific research. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for us to have a little bit more of a back and forth today. So spiritually, there are like so many different interpretations. So for those that believe in like multi dimensions and parallel universes, it could be like a glitch in the system, basically, for lack of a better word, where another you in another dimension, another parallel universe is doing the same thing as you now. So like the energies sync up. So you feel that electric, like, whoa, I've felt this before. Why does this feel so familiar? Sometimes it's also a sign that your intuition is becoming stronger. That's what I think. That
In
is,
the metaphysical sense, that's
Yeah.
kind of where your belief is.
yeah, that's where I am feeling. And then some other people that believe in past lives believe that it's because you did the same thing or it reminds you of something in your past life. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Have we done past lives?
I don't think so,
No?
but that would be
Okay.
interesting. Yeah.
I know we did portals. What are your thoughts of like the idea of portals and deja vu? Like maybe they're a portal to something?
Yeah, it's a portal to another dimension, basically. Like there's like an opening in the energy, and that's why you have the deja vu. Either a portal to like another universe right now, or to your past life, or if you believe that time is non-linear, it's one and the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what do like the people in the spiritual community, like what's their agreement or what do they do with deja vu?
Like I said, there are like these three branches. However, there is a difference between deja vu and like a clair premonition or like a clair sentience. Very big differences. So deja vu is that feeling that you've done something before, but it's unexplainable. It's like, why am I feeling this way? Versus like a premonition or clairsentience is you could lay out the exact events that are going to happen. Versus deja vu, it's like, why am I feeling this
it's like the
familiar feeling?
unexpected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the difference. Because every time that I was thinking about a deja vu moment, all I could think of were premonitions. So that hasn't happened to me. But some people can get deja vu first and then strengthen their intuition and then they could get premonitions.
I see. Okay, got it. So it's kind of like the spiritual body telling you there's something there that you might have a closer linkage to,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's more what I think.
Yeah.
But since you're our science psychology guy,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So I think there's a fun transition there. There's this idea. This part I don't believe. I do think it's also within like, I wouldn't say metaphysical, but definitely like pseudoscience, that we're kind of just in a giant simulation, whether it's like a computer simulation or a program, or our brains are like hooked up to some sort of like predetermined life and world. And that the deja vu is kind of like you said, like a glitch in that. And so that we're not really real. That's kind of one of the thought processes. And those little moments are the linkage to kind of let us know, like, hey, you're not actually existing. You're in a simulation, which is kind of creepy.
That is creepy.
I don't believe that, but that is kind of, that's not like science, but it's also a little more like metaphysically, but it's also not, because it's not like a spiritual thing. It's
Just
the
like,
idea that we're in like a scientific, in like in a simulation. So that's kind of one of the explanations I've heard. As far as psychologically, I don't know if there's been like a full explanation, but there are some thought processes. So one of the things is deja vu is mostly experienced from people between the age of 15 to 25. So it's not something that's like forever. And I mean, I think looking back, I think as I was trying to think through like any examples, I was like, yeah, maybe it happened more when I was younger. My theory to that is, and we've spoken about this before, your like prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed. So I wonder if there's some like growing that's happening, and as the building blocks are finalizing and synapses are firing and links are being made, I wonder if like that construction process has those moments where you're like, oh wait, I've experienced this before. So that's like my personal scientific take on it. But then some of the research has suggested that it could be something that you didn't fully process. So you took in parts of it and then didn't consciously process that thought. And then when you see it, your mind has already had that in the back of their head of your head saying like, oh wait, this looks familiar. So it feels like a repeat experience. It's a very uncomfortable feeling because you're almost rattling your brain like, I know where this came from.
Yeah.
There's also the thought that is something that you may have had like a similar dream to the situation, but you don't recall that dream. So somewhere in your psyche, like you've experienced something similar, not exactly the same, but it's just your subconscious kind of bubbling up and saying like, hey, I recognize this. Again, with dreams, so far, like the most scientific explanation for dreams is that's the way of the brain like shutting down and basically organizing your memories. And that's why dreams are nonsensical, is because it's just the brain processing all the information, all the input it took throughout the day. And that's also when you make long-term memories, is when you're sleeping. So I wonder if there's like a memory component.
Shout out to our dream interpretation episode.
That's a really good episode.
Yeah.
And then there's the other thing that I think is the more reasonable explanation, and it makes the most sense to me, and it's the easiest for me to understand. There's something in psychology called schemas, right? Schemas are things that we use to help quickly identify situations, and I'll kind of go into that a little bit. But if we weren't able to do that, we wouldn't be able to function, because there are times where we do need to take shortcuts. Again, it all does go back to like evolutionary science of we need to be able to determine something very quickly to make a decision. And that really boils down to like flight or flight, predator versus prey. So
is that like pattern recognition?
It's some pattern recognition, yes. So absolutely. So for example, back in like cave days, or when we didn't have the sophisticated technology we had, if you saw a lion, you're not going to sit there and analyze like the lion's aggression, their roar, their claws, them coming towards you. If you actually had to sit there and process all that information consciously, you'd be dead. There's no time. So the brain learns what's called schemas, and that allows you to make really quick, they're not always rational decisions, but they're really quick decisions. So that is sometimes a problem with like stereotypes and assuming certain things about certain groups. Sometimes those schemas develop because of, that's how you grew up with, that's a community you grew up with, and you make these quick impulsive decisions. So they're not always good. So my theory is that's part of the deja vu. There are a lot of shortcuts that we've developed as humans, and sometimes if we jump to those conclusions really quickly, it's almost like a reflex. We might not have the full picture. So I think that's kind of more what happens, where you have these schemas and you're like, you subconsciously you predetermine like what it is, and then maybe when you take a little bit more time to like actually think about it, that's why it feels so familiar. So schemas can be broken down from like the individualistic to like the society. So individualistic schemas are like, okay, I know I don't like broccoli, or I know I don't like, certain types of foods, or like my emotions make me feel a certain way. So the broccoli example, as an individual, you can say like, oh, there's broccoli. You don't really need to think about the fact like, oh, I've had it before. This is why it tastes like, this is why I don't like it. Especially with like food and smell. That's why like when people are like picky eaters, I do give a little bit more of a pass. I know some people are like, oh, you're so picky.
Yeah.
But like if your brain has reinforced, I don't like this, it's really hard to break that cycle.
Dang.
So there's those like individual schemas.
Yeah.
Then there's like the societal schemas of like, I know when I go out into public, like I can't go out running naked, or I can't go, yeah, there's like these social norms, and again, those vary from culture to culture, where you've kind of learned to adapt to like whatever society you're growing up with, understand the practices, understand kind of the quick reference. You're not going to sit there in a business meeting and like not make eye contact or not shake a hand. Like when you go to shake a hand for like a business thing, you don't really think about it. It's almost subconscious because there's a schema set up. Now, that is very dependent on the society you grow up in. Some societies, it's very rude to make eye contact.
Yeah.
And when you go to those societies and don't know those schemas, that's when, like, things can go wrong because you don't understand those societal norms. But yeah, they're just quick little shortcuts to make your life easier is what it is. And I feel like in those shortcuts, that's where we get deja vu. It's like, you think of one thing and then you subconsciously maybe analyzed it beforehand and you're like, oh, there it is. And that's my best understanding of like the psychology and biology of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
What are your thoughts on that?
I just love when you know so much about a topic and you just go for it versus me just like yapping all the time. So I love listening to you speak. I mean, you're so intelligent and, keep me grounded in rationality. I think that like the brain science of like the brain developing and maybe it has a little moment, like that totally makes sense. Like I'm totally accepting of that hypothesis.
And you also have like, there's a time while you were alive, but you still weren't conscious, right? I was just having this conversation with somebody about, I think my earliest memories are like first grade, where I can consciously say like, this happened. My life basically my consciousness started in like first grade because I don't remember too much before that. You see pictures, you hear stories, and that's also why people can be very, persuade in certain ways, especially like if you don't know and it sounds right, you can be led to believe these things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Like false memories?
Like false memories. Yeah. That's
so scary.
Yeah, that's like a thing.
Gaslighting to the max.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. But yeah. So I think that's deja vu. And again, the sleep thing, the dreams, right? Having those dreams that you just, because obviously I think we dream every night. It's just we don't remember a bunch of it. And,
yeah.
That could just be lurking away in your subconscious.
Yeah.
But I've had moments of deja vu and I don't like the feeling. I know some people really like it. It's almost like
unsettling.
Yeah, it's very unsettling because you're like, I know I've been here. I've done this before.
Why can't I remember?
Why can't I remember?
Yeah.
And then what's weird is like sometimes you do remember. And like it's kind of like a dream, like those super vivid dreams where you're like, no, this is real. For me, when I've had moments of deja vu, it's almost like, yeah, no, I 100% have lived this before. It's not a matter of like, I wonder if I did. For me, it's always like very certain. Like I've done this before, 100%, and it is super unsettling. I really, really don't like the feeling. What about you?
I don't get like minor deja vu. I get premonitions. So some of the best premonitions I could think of were when I went to Mexico and I saw my cousin. This was more when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
So you said the average age is 15 to 25.
Yeah.
This maybe happened when I was like, I want to say 8 or 9. But I had a dream that my cousin was going to like get a bag of chips. And he was going to explain to me that in Mexico, at least back when I was 8 years old, like they had these bags of chips and you open them and there was like a little toy, sort of like in the cereal box, like how they used to have the little toy, but in a bag of chips.
Yeah.
And that he was hoping that he would get this specific thing. And then he did, and he was super excited. And like the bag of chips was green, and the monito, the little figurine, looked like this. So I knew all of that hours before. And then when we saw the guy selling chips, I was like, he's gonna get that green bag. He's gonna explain to me this is why he got it, and he's gonna get this little figurine. And that's what happened. Versus deja vu would be like,
you relived it without knowing you relived it.
Yeah. Well, deja vu would be like, why does this feel familiar? Why do I feel, versus me, I'm like, I know exactly what's gonna happen, like in the next 5 minutes, basically.
See, I've never had that. Yeah, so I think again with deja vu, it's just that the experience is what makes it really scary in your head. And for me, why that I think it's so unsettling because I don't like losing control
Yeah.
of like my autonomy, especially my thoughts. And not like in a bad way, like I'm going to do something bad, but just the uncertainty of like, I don't have control over that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's why also, unfortunately, like some of the more degenerate disease or what word am I thinking of?
Degenerative.
Yes, I'm all smart earlier now. Like I'm losing my shit. Those are so scary and sad because imagine not like knowing your reality, right?
Yeah,
Like for people with Alzheimer's or memory loss,
Yeah.
or amnesia. I feel like that would be super scary.
There's also a correlation with epilepsy and deja vu because epilepsy affects the brain.
Yeah, epilepsy is basically like the electrical synapses firing and like going haywire.
Yeah.
So imagine having to go through that.
Yeah.
I wonder if people with like amnesia or memory loss like experience deja vu. You know what I mean? Because like I wonder if like I know somewhere in there I have that memory. I want to say unfortunately not, especially with Alzheimer's. If I'm not mistaken, I could be completely off, but it is like a physical deterioration of like brain matter.
Yeah.
So like if it's not there, there are no memories basically, which is super sad. But epilepsy has also just had such a bad rap throughout the years,
Yeah,
right? Like in the Middle Ages, people who had epilepsy were believed
to be like possessed and shit.
Yeah. So, I mean, what are your thoughts about that with like epilepsy and deja vu?
Yeah, I mean, scientifically it makes sense, but I just feel for people, like, society is so quick to dismiss, like, oh, you're just exaggerating, you're just being sensitive, and it's like, even if it's not spiritual, like, just accepting, yeah, that's an unsettling feeling, like, let's sit with it, like, your feelings are valid, but then spiritually or metaphysically, there are so many ways to tap into like, why am I feeling this way? My favorite go-to, you could ask the tarot and be like, what does this mean? And then pulling clarifiers, like, is it a coincidence? Is it linked to like a past life thing? Is it just like a sign for me to strengthen my intuition? Going that way, there's a form of sort of like divination where you write and you have your hand to paper, but then if you really open yourself up, you basically become like a medium, and then whatever is trying to speak to you flows through you, and then you start writing, but it's not you, it's whatever you're tapping into.
Almost like you're being possessed.
Yeah, but not in like the creepy way. Like you're just allowing yourself to get the information that way. Meditating, sometimes like through meditating you can get epiphanies and stuff. Yeah.
Kind of backtracking a little bit, you mentioned at the beginning or a while while we're starting talking about like portals to possibly some other realities. I'm kind of curious. Let's take that for a fact. And let's say there are like infinite realities within different universes and deja vus are like those portals. I wonder how those other realities like perceive us, like what their deja vu experience is like.
That's a trip to think about. Yeah.
Because like at that point, not only are you thinking about your conscious, but you're thinking about the conscious of another being in another universe.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a trip.
Interesting.
I would say that, like, if I had to take a guess, your deja vu would probably be stronger during eclipses because eclipses are portals touching the nodes of fate, which are very, like, time sensitive. Yeah.
That's what you, that's what we talked about in eclipse season. And you're like, that's a very interesting time. Another reason probably not to manifest, huh? Because what if you, like, okay, so if you haven't listened to the eclipse episode or ever heard our podcast, Genesis herself is a big proponent of not doing any manifestation work during eclipse season. She's mentioned some people like to do it, and that's fine. But if we're putting all our knowledge together about like the metaphysical and the spiritual, it might also be good not to do any manifestation because, like, what if you're crossing some like wires or portals, right?
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. And nodes of fate and eclipses and stuff, that's less multi-dimensional and more about like past lives.
Did we talk about the past lives part of deja vu too?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
I would say, like, me personally, I'm skeptical of both past lives and multi-dimension. I believe that eclipses are portals to more like things happening in the past of this life and in the future of this life. Does that make sense?
No, totally makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I feel like you could be triggering things from the past or the future, but like for yourself, who you are right
As a
now.
person being,
Yeah.
So you said you've never actually experienced deja vu. To me, that's like really interesting. You said you've only done like premonition work, so you don't even know what that feels like then, right?
I mean, I know it's unsettling because like I've had bad premonitions where it's like this person's gonna try to fuck with you right now, and that's very unsettling. Like,
and it must be more unsettling like when it actually happens, right?
And you know that you're gonna be like helpless in a situation. Like, I mean, I guess I'll just share an example, but like I had like a random thought come to me maybe like 30 minutes before. I was 16. I was interning at a dentist office because I wanted to explore the medical field, and it was like when you're waiting for your mom to pick you up, this guy is gonna walk on the street because I was waiting on the street, and he's gonna stop right in front of you, and he's gonna ask you for the time because he's checking to see if you have a cell phone or not, and then he's gonna try to convince you to like go with him. So that's what happened.
You went with a random guy at 16?
No, I did not go with him, but he was trying to have me go with him. So
when did you have like the thought? Like, was it right? You said half an hour before?
Yeah, I was just doing mindless filing.
Oh, and just kind of stream of consciousness in your own thought? You had this thought?
It sounded like a voice. So some people, when they process information, they see like if you tell someone think of an apple, half of the people will visualize an apple and half of the people will just hear the word apple. That's like the split of how people process in their mind, like when they think.
Yeah.
For me, I could do both, but it's more audio. But when I have premonitions, it depends. But that premonition was auditory. It said, this is going to happen, then this is going to happen, then this is going to happen. And I was waiting outside and my body froze. And it was like, here he comes. And literally, like, I heard footsteps. I saw a figure from the corner of my eye. And literally, I see his 2 feet. And I'm like, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. And they stop right in front of me. And I'm like, fuck.
And he asked you, like, if you had...
He's like, hey, do you know what time it is? And so I whipped out my cell phone and I was like, it's blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, what are you doing? Do you want to come drink a beer with me? And...
Just like that?
Yes. I was like, you fucking creep.
That's wild. And you had that premonition? I didn't know this one.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've shared that one.
Yeah.
That must be really freaky because with deja vu, it's like you experience it, you're like, wait, I've already experienced it. But with premonition, it's like,
it's coming.
This shit is coming. Oh, that must be super creepy.
Yeah. I have good and bad premonitions. Like,
I guess they're all, I guess all your premonitions could be considered neutral, right? Until they happen. Right?
Yeah. Well, like one time we went to a drag show and they were doing a raffle, and as soon as I got the raffle ticket from the attendant, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get called on stage. Like stuff like that.
That's a raven.
Yeah, it's really freaky. Or yeah, that's the type of shit that happens to me. Yeah.
No, totally. Yeah, deja vu is such an interesting topic. And as much explanation as I gave scientifically, I don't think we actually really know the phenomena. I think we can like describe it and what causes it. But at the end of the day, right, all your existence, everything you are, everything you experience, everything you're going to experience biologically or neuroscientifically, it's just electrical impulses in your brain. So that makes sense. I mean, things go haywire all the time. I mean, the other day I was plugging in like an outlet and it like sparked a little bit, and I was like, God. Oh damn. So like, yeah, I mean, even in like a perfect mechanical world, things don't go great. So imagine like in the brain, right? There's so many factors, stress, substances.
Yeah.
And that's kind of another trip. People who do like psychedelics, like at what point is their reality shifted so much, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's deja vu. Anything you think we need to add to that or the listeners need to know?
Yeah, just hopefully it's not too unsettling for you, but yeah, maybe try to sit with it and explore it if you are a believer or if you want to see if it's linked to something or not.
Yeah. And then it looks like we did get a question, so thank you so much. Mercy over in the Patreon said, if deja vu is a glitch in our memory system, what does this reveal about the reality of our memories and our perception of reality? Can we ever fully trust our experience if they can be so easily misinterpreted?
Dang.
That's a great, deep question.
That is a deep question. Dang.
I have my personal thoughts about this, and it could be a little cynic, a little nihilistic, but the reliability of our memories is not great.
Yeah.
That's why, like, unfortunately, in the justice system, testimony sometimes can be like iffy, right? You can definitely be persuaded to think a certain way, and it's not by the nature of the person. Like, people who are like honestly truly persuaded, they don't know that, so it's not like a malicious thing. But yes, memories are very, very fragile. Again, there's so many factors, like injuries can affect your memories, diseases can affect your memories. It's really, really hard to recall a perfect memory. Now, something that's a little more trippy that I know I've touched on this, but just to go in a little bit deeper, unfortunately, in this lifetime, you're never gonna experience real present time reality.
Yeah.
Because
there's always a lag.
Yes, all information, 100% of the information we get is through different input sources. So whether you're hearing it, seeing it, smelling it, all that information has to come through. Our sensor receptors have to take it in, then they have to analyze it and make a thought process out of it. Again, going back to it, that's why the schemas are so important for those shortcuts. All this happens, it seems almost instantly, but not really. That's why, to me, I'm always super impressed with like the athletes where like their craft or whatever, especially like Formula One, they have to react super fast. Like, I think that's the closest people can get to like a real in time situation. Oh, I could do like a whole episode on that. But that's the other thing about reality is you're never ever going to experience reality in the present. So technically speaking, you could say like you've never experienced reality, because what is reality, right? Everything you experience happened to you in the past. Everything.
Crazy.
So you will never experience a true, real present moment.
Wow.
So that's the first part. So what does that reveal about the reliability of our memories and our perceptions of reality? Yeah, it reveals that it's very fragile. It is very, very fragile. We like to think we're above it all.
Yeah.
I mean, even me, but we're not that protected.
Yeah.
Our main organ, that is in charge of everything, is the brain, and it has like a skull which is pretty thick, but like that's kind of about it. Like it's pretty vulnerable. So and then, can we ever fully trust our experiences if they can be so easily misinterpreted? I think there's like a different way of looking at things. Can we ever 100% trust everything you're experiencing? No, absolutely not. I think it would be very naive to say yes, everything you believe and everything you experience, you can 100% trust. I think we can do our best to conceptualize products and thoughts. I think that's what humans do really well, and that's what has led us to thrive as humans, is that we can think like down the road and understand consequences. If A and B equals C, then we know how to prepare for like C. So I think that is one of the advantages we have. And my recommendation is like, while you can't 100% always trust, your experiences or, what you're thinking, you can conceptualize them and say, this is who I am as a person. This is, what I do. This is what I believe in, and try to come as close as possible to a reality that works for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't gaslight yourself and completely discount your own experiences, but yeah, you're not the end all be all of the truth.
Yeah. So super interesting topics, and we had a couple tangents, but I think they're all really related. And deja vu, what an interesting topic.
Very, very interesting. Yeah.
If people want to get a hold of you and kind of reach out to you and maybe have some of their deja vu experiences interpreted or their premonitions, how can they do that?
JenColo.com or on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at JenColo.
Yeah. Again, we are in the studio. We will be here on Thursday for the Mercado night. We have a lot of projects we're working on. We'll kind of slowly unveil them. But yeah, if you haven't joined the Patreon or any of the tiers, I highly recommend it. We are doing the unhinged episodes, which are super fun.
They're so fun. They're so different.
Yeah, just kind of join us. You'll see a different side of us and kind of get to interact. So, alrighty, anything else?
We are also here this Saturday.
Yes.
I want to say the 7th. It's on my Instagram. If you check it, I put like all the locations for September. But thank you so much, everyone. This was such a great episode. Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Remember, the magic within you makes the world a more beautiful place. Blessed be, and signing off.